Failure to answer the question. It seems very obvious that we've got questions in the exam and people fail to answer them. So the key mistake is they fail to address all the requirements of the question. So sometimes the question is quite long and difficult. So missing out those requirements is like a common reason why students fail the examination. They don't get every single requirement. So what I want you to do is we're going to look at this next question. It's a past paper question in the exam. So I want you to look at it. It's from the specimen. It's from the specimen paper for the new syllabus, the new change of the syllabus, which is the pre-seen case study. So this is from the actual exam, specimen paper 2, which was released this year. So I want you to take a minute and read it, and I want you to tell me how many requirements are in this question. Dominic's going 4. Okay. Anybody else want to tell me? Dominic's saying 4. Anybody else going to tell me how many requirements in this question? Ashley's going to go 3 or 5. So hedging bets. That's good. Okay. Anybody else want to tell me how many requirements we've got in this question? Ibrahim's going 5. Okay. So there's actually quite a lot of requirements in this question, and we can break it down. So first of all, we've got 2 projects here. There's 2 projects that they're going to talk about in this answer. They've got a new range of sailing dinghies or a new range of luxury yachts. So you've got 2 projects, project 1 and project 2. So already there's 2 things you've got to talk about. You've got to talk about financial and non-financial benefits. That's 2 things. The financial and non-financial drawbacks, that means 4 things, right? 4 things, and then 2 projects. So that's 8 things. And then recommend with reasons. So that's like another thing you've got to do, right? Recommend with reasons. So you've got to do recommendation. So that's number 9th thing. Then you've got to have reasons for the recommendation. If it says if any, it always means you must do it. So recommendation with reasons, that's another requirement. And it says in your professional skills marks are available for evaluation. Evaluation means good or bad, based on a balanced approach. So when you write down your recommendation, you must always consider positive and negative points. So that's another requirement. So when you're reading a question in the exam, it's like sometimes you've got to read it slowly and break it down in your answer. So we've got financial, non-financial benefits and drawbacks of each project, recommend with reasons, but also have a balance. So one thing, it may or may not help you, but one thing I recommend my students to do is you've got a little table function in your exam, in the practice platform, you've got a little table function. So if you can use that table function to write down the requirements, what I advise students to do is just build that table. It just takes like 30 seconds to build it out. And you write each requirement in there. And when you're writing your answer plan, you put the requirements inside each one. It's going to make sure that you get every single requirement that's required. So I put there financial benefits. I'm just trying to make this a bit bigger. I put down financial benefits, non-financial benefits, project 1, project 2, drawback, financial, non-financial, project 1, project 2, recommend, which one you're going to go for, justify, good and bad, because you've got to have a balanced perspective. So if you do that, it's going to help you. I think potentially it's going to make sure you hit every single requirement mark in the examination. but it's also going to help you to make sure you get your professional marks because, as I said, if you don't complete all the requirements, you will lose professional marks as well. So it's a double loss in the exam for you. You must hit all the requirements in the examination. So you have a little table function. I reckon it may or may not work for you. You don't have to do it as a table. You can do it as like headings if you want to in the exam. But if you do a little table, what I do is I suggest my students, and when I do a debrief on the practice platform, we just write our plan in here. We just write our plan, just key points in here as we're reading through the question. So it may or may not help you, but just something to think about. It is there for you in the practice platform. Yep. Thanks, Dominic. Would you use this format for the final answer? No, it's just a tool to construct it. It's just a tool to construct it. So we'll talk about it a bit later on, but the key part of the exam is planning. So if you're planning in the exam, this is a tool for planning, but then you've got to choose the right format. So the format might be report, it might be a briefing paper, it might be a presentation. So this is just a tool for construction to make sure you hit every single requirement of the question and break it down in the exam. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Have a look at this one and tell me how many requirements in this question. Anybody want to guess how many requirements we're looking for in this question? Dominic's going for 4 again. Yeah. Anybody else want to go? Dominic's saying 4. We're going to, Anne-Marie's say 4. Okay. So a couple of things here, right? When we look at this question, the first thing to note is letter format, right? So not every question is going to be a report or a briefing paper. This is a letter. It's a letter format. So if you don't write your answer in a letter format, you're going to lose half the professional marks. You're going to go from 4 to 2 maximum 2. So you've got 2 marks in the bin already. So letter must have dear, must finish yours faithfully or yours sincerely. So it must look like a letter. The tone must read like a letter. So letter is, watch out for the format. It can potentially kill your mark in the exam. A mistake. And a lot of students in the exam, they didn't write the answer as a letter. A lot of students made that mistake in the examination, right? So keyword is assess. Assess is good or bad, right? Benefits and problems. So that they tell you, okay, we've got to do a letter. Communication means right format. Benefits and problems, right? But there's one thing that you've got to be careful of and you might have missed here in terms of a requirement, right? So don't just jump into the requirement. Always read the preamble first. There may be something relevant in the preamble for you. So the second paragraph, the first committee is to establish a strategy committee to set up proposals. He wants you to view the benefits and problems of his proposal, consideration, including any omissions. So really you've got there an extra requirement which was not really specified in the benefits and problems. So you've also got omissions. So read the preamble. It may be important when crafting your answer in the exam. So that omissions part, a lot of students didn't do it in the exam. So what you would do is benefits of strategy committee, example, and say why. Don't just say benefit. It's a benefit because it will help strategy. Always give an example and say why. So you can build that into your planning table to remind yourself that to get that extra mark. This is where the second mark, I'll just make it a little bit bigger. This is where the second mark is going to come for you. So always build that into your plan. Think about that second mark comment in your plan. Don't just write down benefit. Benefit are, give a clear sense of direction. So it might be like benefit, give a clear sense of direction. That's your point. But you need to say, this is important for this company because in the past, they have not had a clear strategy, and this will provide a better focus to deal with the competition, right? So it's like 1 point for clear direction, but you really need to focus on getting that second point. So I would build that into your planning process. But also the omissions part also needs to be built into the planning process as well. The omissions part also needs to be in there. So just be careful on the preamble, but also build into your answer the say why part into your plan. It will make a massive difference to your examination.